Throughout the course of history, there has only ever been one nuclear war, World War II. Of course, the entire war wasn't a nuclear one. Only 3 nuclear bombs were dropped within days of one another. They created devastation for the cities they destroyed. Never had the world seen such powerful explosives, and it hasn't since. After the Second World War broke out in Europe in 1939, a famous German physicist contacted the President of the United States. This man, Albert Einstein, and his Hungarian colleague Leo Szilard had fled to Europe to escape the Nazis. Einstein and Szilard told President Franklin D. Roosevelt the possibility that a bomb of unknown power could be made by tapping the forces of nuclear fission. He was worried that if the Germans invented such a powerful bomb before any other country, that Hitler could fulfill his goal of ruling the world. In a letter, the physicists urged the United States government to join the race for the atomic bomb. Roosevelt agreed. Such an intense and dangerous project could easily draw attention to itself, and therefore was codenamed the Manhattan Project. For over 4 years, 200,000 workers and thousands of scientists and engineers from the United States, Great Britain, and Canada worked hard on creating nuclear bombs whose powers were unimaginable. In May of 1945, Germany surrendered. The threat of a German attack was no longer imminent. Although the Germans no longer posed a threat, the Manhattan Project did not end, but rather flourished. 2 different types of nuclear fission were chosen to be featured in the Manhattan Project's bombs: uranium and plutonium. These substances then needed to be produced and made suitable for the bombs. Then they needed to be tested to make sure they were actually appropriate for the explosions. By July of 1945, enough plutonium was available to perform a field test with an actual bomb. The test was codenamed Trinity and the bomb Gadget. It was set off in New Mexico on the Alamogordo Air Base. This was an elaborate test and required lots of planning. On July 16, 1945, the first ever atomic bomb was exploded. It created an intense light flash, a wave of heat, a tremendous roar as the shock wave from the explosion passed and echoed in the valley, a ball of fire that rose upward, and a giant mushroom cloud. This day was marked as the beginning of the atomic age. Because the war in the Pacific was still raging, it was decided by the United States President, Harry S. Truman, that the developed nuclear bombs would be used against Japan to force them to surrender as quickly as possible. The Japanese were warned of the attack prior, but the government said they would not surrender. Thus, on August 6, 1945, the first bomb was dropped over Hiroshima. This bomb was called Little Boy and was made with uranium. At 8:15 a.m., the bomb was dropped by parachute over Hiroshima, and it exploded 2,000 feet above the city. The blast was equal to that of 12 to 15,000 tons of TNT, and it destroyed 5 square miles of the city. Japan did not surrender. 3 days later, on August 9th, a second bomb was dropped over Nagasaki at 11:02 a.m. This bomb was named Fat Man. It used plutonium instead of uranium, and it was more powerful than the Little Boy. It created a 22-kiloton blast. Because the city was nestled in narrow valleys between mountains, the blast only destroyed 2.6 square miles of Nagasaki. The Hiroshima bombing caused 80,000 immediate deaths, and the Nagasaki bombing caused 40,000 deaths. Within a month after the bombings, around 100,000 more people had died due to the radiation poisoning. Cities were leveled, buildings were destroyed, and the 2 cities were left in distress. On August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's surrender on the radio. On September 2nd, a formal surrender was signed. This day was called Victory over Japan Day. Many historians feel that the nuclear bombings were not worth the horrible health risks to the Japanese population, as they suffered for many years after 1945. Some historians say it was worth it, pointing out that the nuclear bombs ended the war very quickly and efficiently. Since the end of the Second World War, atomic bombs have not been used. Many countries hold nuclear weapons in their possession, but none have been used since 1945.